Welcome to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass. We are so glad you're joining us today. So let me ask you something. How much do you actually remember from your middle school history classes? Specifically about, the start of the American Revolution.
Oh, man. If you are like most people, that memory is probably just it's a blurry, chaotic montage, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like Paul Revere, some tricorn hats, maybe a guy shouting on a horse in the middle of the night.
Right, just a highlight reel of totally disconnected trivia.
Exactly. So today on the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass, we are going out there and doing a deep dive into a very specific shortcut to historical literacy. We want to really get you immersed so you know exactly what you're signing up for.
Yeah, and we are pulling sources directly from the Excursion Pass official listing, which is just an incredibly deep well for this kind of thing. And we're pairing that with the raw, completely unvarnished TripAdvisor reviews.
Right, the real experiences from actual travelers. And the operator we're looking at is called Great Boston Tours.
Specifically, we are dissecting their Lexington and Concord 250th birthday tour.
It is quite a title.
It is. And it's pitched as this 7 to 9 hour day trip, fully designed to literally trace the early American Revolution story.
So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out if this experience is actually the ultimate history hack. Like, can you get totally well informed in a single day?
Or are you just better off saving your money, renting a car, and, I don't know, skimming a Wikipedia page?
Right, because we always want to anticipate those objections you might have before you book something. So, to set the stage, let's look at the baseline promises from the Excursion Pass listing.
Okay, let's hear it.
This is a full-day, small group guided tour departing from Boston. And the entire design of the tour is to physically retrace the route of April 19th, 1775.
Which is super cool.
It is. You start in Cambridge, you move out to the Lexington Battle Green, travel along Battle Road, visit the old North Bridge, and it even includes admission to the Concord Museum.
I mean, that is an ambitious itinerary to pack into a single day.
No.
Especially when you factor in, modern Boston traffic. That is no joke.
Seriously. But before we get into how that actually plays out on the road, we really need to look at the blueprint of this operation, like the actual mechanics and the cost.
Right, the brass tacks. So looking at the Excursion Pass listing, it's $179 for adults.
Okay.
And $129 for children.
Got it.
And for that price, you're getting transportation, a dedicated guide, admission to the Concord Museum, and bottled water.
Just bottled water.
Just water. Because you are strictly on your own for lunch and any gratuities for the guide.
Okay, I have to pause right there. I want to play devil's advocate on the math for a second because this immediately raises a massive objection for me.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's say you are taking this trip with your family, right? 2 adults, 2 kids. You are looking at over $600 for the day. And that's not even including whatever you end up spending on lunch or the tip. And geographically speaking, Boston to Concord is roughly, 20 miles?
Yeah, it's really not a massive distance.
Right. So if I already have a rental car for my vacation, why on earth am I dropping $600 to ride in a van with strangers? It kind of feels like I'd be paying premium luxury prices for a glorified carpool.
And that is a totally natural reaction. When you just look at the price tag in a vacuum, it feels steep.
Very steep.
But this requires looking at the economics of what you are actually purchasing here. The value proposition is not the transportation itself.
What do you mean?
You aren't paying for the hardware, right? You aren't paying for the physical van or the gasoline. You are paying for the context.
Okay, I'm listening.
Because if you just take your rental car and drive your family from Boston to Concord, you are ultimately just looking at old grass and antique buildings.
Right. Without context, the Lexington Battle Green is literally just a park.
Exactly.
Which means my kids are going to be bored out of their minds within 15 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'll just end up frustrated that we wasted a vacation day staring at, bronze historical plaques that nobody is reading.
And that is precisely the problem this tour attempts to solve. The itinerary isn't just a list of random geographical coordinates, it's a carefully constructed narrative.
Which is so much more engaging.
It is. Because humans are spatial learners. When we physically trace the exact chronological route of the events as they unfolded that day in 1775, our brains actually map the abstract historical data onto the physical geography.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So the true value lies in the software. And by software, I mean the guides who decode that landscape for you in real time.
I love that analogy, the software versus the hardware. So if the software, the guide, is the absolute make or break feature of this $600 family investment, we definitely have to pivot and look at those TripAdvisor reviews.
For sure. Because we need to know if these guides actually deliver on such a premium price tag.
Right, because that is a very steep asking price for a history lesson, no matter how good it is.
Well, when you cross-reference the promotional copy with the actual customer feedback, the data on the guides is highly illuminating. What immediately jumped out to you in the user reviews?
Well, what really jumped out is that the success of the tour seems almost entirely dependent on drawing a lucky straw with two specific guides named in our sources.
Oh, right. Coach and Richard.
Yes. Let's look at Richard first. Reviewers like Victoria and Ellen, they don't just say he was a good driver.
No, they really rave about him.
They do. They describe him as deeply knowledgeable, incredibly kind, and possessing this obvious, infectious love for the subject matter. It feels like you're literally experiencing the history through his passion.
And that makes a huge difference.
It totally does. And another reviewer, Gigi, explicitly pointed out that Richard accommodated a special drop-off request for them at the end of the day. Like, he actually went above and beyond the standard route.
See, that kind of operational flexibility is exactly the mechanism that justifies a boutique, small group experience over a massive commercial bus tour.
Right. Because a large corporate tour with 50 people simply cannot deviate from its route to drop one family off near their hotel.
Never going to happen. Richard's ability to bend the logistics to serve the customer demonstrates the personalized service you really require at this price point.
Absolutely. But while Richard sounds like a fantastic host, the reviews for the other guide, Coach, are what really caught my attention.
Oh, Coach sounds amazing.
He sounds like a pedagogical legend, like that one magical high school teacher we all wish we had.
Exactly.
A reviewer named Beth actually took a Missouri school group on the tour. And it was a mixed bag, right? Middle school kids and adult chaperones.
A tough crowd.
The toughest. But she writes that Coach was witty, engaging, and somehow managed to explain the history perfectly on everyone's level.
Wow.
Yeah, he built such a strong rapport with both the adults and the students that he even gave the kids a quiz at the end of the tour, and they loved it.
Which is just a remarkable psychological feat when you think about it.
I mean, honestly, it sounds like a nightmare to me. I'm looking at these glowing reviews, but how much can one guy really do to keep both middle schoolers and adults engaged for 9 hours in a van? I've been in cars with middle schoolers for 20 minutes and I wanted to pull my hair out.
It's a lot to manage.
How does a guide actually pull that off without the adults feeling, talked down to, or the kids totally zoning out?
Well, he pulls it off through a psychological concept known as audience adaptation.
Okay, what is that?
It's basically the cornerstone of effective interactive storytelling. Think about the traditional way we teach history.
Yeah.
It's usually super static, right?
Yeah, a teacher stands at a chalkboard and lists off dates and treaties.
Exactly. But a guide like Coach utilizes tactile environmental learning. He takes the abstract concept of, say, a musket volley and connects it to the physical dirt you were standing on at the old North Bridge.
Oh, so he makes history this tangible living environment rather than just a dusty timeline.
Exactly. You can almost feel the mud on your boots. And that quiz at the end isn't some stressful academic test. It's gamification.
Ah, so it makes it fun.
Right. It gives the students a stakes-based reason to actually pay attention, turning passive listening into active participation.
That makes so much sense.
And another reviewer, Stephen from Texas, explicitly stated he learned way more in one single day with Coach than he could remember from all of his history lessons combined.
That is wild.
It really tells us that the pedagogical mechanism here isn't just entertaining. It's highly effective for long-term memory retention.
So, based on the TripAdvisor data, if you are lucky enough to get the premium software like, if you get Coach or Richard, the educational mission of this tour is a resounding 5-star success.
Totally.
You are getting the exact historical context you paid for, bypassing the boring textbooks and getting this vibrant, memorable download of the American Revolution. It really sounds like you are living the experience right alongside them.
That is the ideal scenario, yes. But we are analyzing a commercial travel experience here.
Right.
And travel does not exist in some romantic, frictionless vacuum of perfect storytelling.
Very true.
The software might be brilliant, but, even the best software crashes if you try to run it on terrible hardware.
Ooh. Which means we really need to talk about the physical reality of the tour.
We do.
Because the listing heavily markets this as a small group experience capped at a maximum of 14 travelers.
Yeah.
And on paper, small group sounds cozy, intimate, and premium.
It does sound nice.
But reading through the less glamorous side of these reviews, the hardware of this tour seems incredibly buggy.
Well, the term small group is often just a clever marketing reframe for a very specific economic reality in the boutique travel industry.
Yeah, and a reviewer named ROR Texas completely shattered that cozy illusion for me.
What do they say?
They pointed out that while Coach was a brilliant guide and a totally safe driver, the van itself was intensely cramped and uncomfortable for 14 people.
Ouch.
Yeah, they were packed in shoulder to shoulder. They specifically noted they were incredibly thankful for the frequent stops just to get out and stretch their knees.
See, this exposes the inherent economic tension of boutique tourism.
How so?
Independent operators run on extremely tight profit margins. To make a 14-passenger van financially viable while still paying a highly skilled guide, they have to sell and fill every single available seat.
Right. There's no wiggle room.
Exactly.
Right.
The trade-off for avoiding the sterile, standardized environment of a massive 50-person motor coach is that you are often squeezing in to a commercial passenger van that was designed for utility, not luxury.
That makes perfect sense on paper, but I have to say a cramped knee is absolutely nothing compared to what I'm officially calling the Montana incident.
Oh boy, the Montana incident.
This review is wild, and it completely undercuts the premium, welcoming vibe promised by the brochure.
It is a fascinating case study in customer experience friction for sure.
Okay, so we have a guest visiting all the way from Montana. They write that they had already been traveling. They've been in Boston for 7 hours, and they are standing at their designated morning pickup spot.
Probably exhausted.
Exactly. They are already a bit disoriented, not totally sure they're even in the right place. And suddenly, an unmarked white van pulls up to the curb.
Oh, no.
No logo, no ExcursionPass branding, no identification whatsoever.
I mean, that is a classic red flag for any traveler in an unfamiliar city.
Right, who is getting into an unmarked van. So the guest naturally walks up to the van to simply ask the driver if he is their tour guide for the Lexington and Concord trip.
Makes sense.
And according to the review, the driver instantly becomes hostile and tells the guest to settle down, back off, and stay away.
You're kidding.
I wish I was.
Wait.
And this bizarre interaction quickly escalates into a full-blown, heated argument on the street between the driver and another customer who stepped in.
Wow. Which is just a catastrophic failure of the customer onboarding experience.
Totally. The reviewer noted that the entire chaotic situation could have been vastly improved with just a tiny shred of courtesy and, maybe a magnetic logo slapped on the side of the van so people actually knew who they were dealing with.
Yeah, doesn't take much.
Like, why would an operator selling a premium tour show up in an unmarked, sketchy-looking van?
Well, it comes back to the scrappy reality of independent operators.
Really?
Yeah. Many small tour companies don't own a massive fleet of branded vehicles. They lease vans, or they use generic vehicles because they might be running a historical tour one day and like a brewery tour the next.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. Branding costs money. But this incident perfectly illustrates the hidden cost of saving that money. You instantly erode customer trust.
Big time.
When you charge nearly $200 a ticket, the customer expects the polish of a corporate operation. But instead, they are met with the logistical chaos of a mom-and-pop startup.
And that logistical chaos extends to the very first step of the day, honestly. The pickup system.
Oh, the pickup grid.
Yeah, the ExcursionPass listing requires you to navigate this highly specific morning pickup grid. You can't just get picked up at your Airbnb.
Right.
You have to be at the New England Aquarium by 8 or 5 a.m., or the State Transportation Building at 8:25, the Fairmont Copley Plaza at 8:35, or the Sheraton at 8:50. You are literally forced to navigate an unfamiliar city's morning rush hour just to start your vacation.
And that completely shifts the logistical burden onto the customer.
It really does.
See, a massive company has the resources to run dedicated shuttle loops to every major hotel. But a single van with one guide has to thread a very tight needle through Boston traffic to get out to Lexington on schedule.
Which is stressful.
Exactly. If they offered door-to-door service for 14 different people, the first person picked up would be sitting in the van for 2 hours before the tour even officially started.
Okay, yeah, which makes sense operationally, but it also raises a massive liability for the buyer, as we see in another one of the reviews.
The no-show.
Yeah, there is a brutal one-star review from a guest named Donna. She and her party woke up early, navigated the city, and waited 20 minutes at their designated pickup spot. When the van never showed, they finally called the company, only to be casually told that there was simply no tour running that day.
Just a total system failure.
Seriously.
Wow.
Imagine the emotional toll of that on a family vacation. You hype up this historical deep dive to your kids, you drag them across Boston at 8 in the morning, and you are met with nothing but an empty curb and an apologetic phone call.
It's terrible.
The review ends with her stating she was just hoping to actually get her $400 refunded. It is a really stark reminder that when you book independent travel, you are assuming a level of operational risk.
You really are. But synthesizing all of these data points from the sources gives us a very clear picture of what you, as the listener, should actually expect.
Definitely.
This tour is the absolute embodiment of the boutique economy trade-off.
What do you mean?
Where you are actively choosing to reject the standardized, highly reliable, but ultimately sterile environment of a massive corporate tour bus. And in exchange, you are getting an intimate, deeply personalized, and highly educational experience from elite guides.
Yeah.
But that exchange requires you to accept the gritty, sometimes uncomfortable reality of small-scale logistics.
Yeah, it really is the difference between eating at a massive chain restaurant versus a tiny independent diner.
That's a great way to put it.
Like at the chain restaurant, every single burger tastes exactly the same. It is perfectly reliable, incredibly safe, and completely forgettable.
Yep.
But at the independent diner, the food might be a culinary revelation that you talk about for years. Or the service might be inexplicably hostile, or they might just decide not to open that day because the chef's car broke down.
Exactly. And that is a perfect framework for understanding this specific ExcursionPass listing.
Yeah.
The historical software, the storytelling, the deep context provided by guides like Richard and Coach is absolutely 5-star.
Oh, without a doubt.
It is a genuine shortcut to becoming well-informed about the American Revolution. But the physical hardware is undeniably a bumpy ride.
Which brings us to the final verdict of today's deep dive. If you want a phenomenal tool to cut through the boring, blurry memories of middle school history, the Lexington and Concord 250th birthday tour is an incredible investment.
It really is.
It totally transforms abstract facts into a tangible, memorable narrative. But you have to advocate for yourself. You cannot just passively show up expecting a luxury corporate experience.
No, you must be highly proactive. You need to double-check your pickup details the night before.
Definitely.
Call the operator to confirm they are actually running the route. Mentally prepare yourself for the fact that you might be rubbing elbows with strangers in a cramped 14-passenger van for 9 hours.
Yeah, stretch those knees.
And perhaps most importantly, be emotionally prepared for the very real possibility of an unmarked white van pulling up to your hotel curb at dawn.
Seriously. You essentially have to manage your own logistics before you can enjoy the history lesson. You just have to be ready to deal with the friction of the real world.
You do. But, considering the subject matter of the tour, I actually want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to ponder, based on everything we've synthesized from these reviews.
Oh, I always love these. Let's hear it.
Okay, so we are analyzing a tour that is explicitly designed to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution.
Right.
If we strip away the romantic mythology, what was the American Revolution at its core in those early hours of April 1775?
A mess.
Exactly. It was not a polished corporate military operation. It was a historical event entirely defined by the chaotic, highly disorganized, deeply uncomfortable, but ultimately successful coordination of local independent militias.
Oh, wow. I see exactly where you're taking this.
Right. When you read these modern reviews complaining about being crammed shoulder to shoulder in tight, uncomfortable spaces.
The frantic miscommunications on the street with unmarked transport vehicles.
The sudden unannounced cancellations and the heated arguments at dawn with strangers. I mean, it genuinely makes you wonder, is the minor logistical chaos of this small group independent tour actually the most authentic, completely unintentional reenactment of 1775 you could possibly experience today?
That is absolutely brilliant. You are literally living the historical friction.
Exactly.
You aren't just learning about the chaotic coordination of the local militias, you are actively participating in it.
You're in the trenches.
So the next time you find yourself arguing with the stressed-out driver in front of the Fairmont Copy Plaza while trying to cram into a 14-passenger van, just reframe the entire experience.
Just go with it.
Remember, you aren't an annoyed tourist. You are a Minuteman dealing with the raw, unfiltered chaos of the revolution. Just try to keep the mud off your boots. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you on the next one.